Okay, here we are. It's H3 languages, but as this is a summer school session, we can't be in H3, so actually we're in the living room. So here we are, living room languages. This is a little bit like my living room, although I don't yet have a beanbag or bunny slippers, but looking at this picture, I definitely need to get both, I think. Okay, we're in theme 2, political and artistic culture in the German-speaking world. We're looking at topic 2, media, and from that we're looking at the first subtopic, which is television. Okay, and that is what it will look like if you check your spec. Okay, text 1. So this is eine Einführung, an introduction ins Thema, which is a topic, and you can see the link there between Thema and the English word theme. Das moderne Fernsehen. So our first text is an introduction to the topic of modern television. You have this text in your workbook, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to work my way through the text, going through all the vocab that I think might be complicated or that maybe you might not have seen before. I'm going to reference a few pieces of grammar that you may need to look up on other videos as well. If I go through it, what you need to do is then write all over your text so that you've got all the words on there. I have given you an alphabetical list of that vocab on the pages following the text, but if you write it all over the text as we're going, it'll be a lot easier for you to do the activities that you're then going to do using the text. So let's get started. Okay, here's the first part of our text. Das Fernsehen wird immer beliebter. Let's start with that, shall we? Es wird beliebter. So Fernsehen is our television, and wird, now that's present tense, is becoming. And that comes from the infinitive werden, to become. And it is becoming, okay, if it was just beliebt, it would be popular, but it's beliebter, so it is more popular. So, becoming more popular und ist schon Alltagsbeschäftigung für die Mehrheit der heutigen Gesellschaft. So, schon, don't mix it up with schön, which has umlauts on it. Schon means already. And it's an already, an Alltag, something that you do all the days, every day. It is a Beschäftigung, an activity, so it's an everyday activity. Für die Mehrheit, so for the majority, der heutigen Gesellschaft. Der means of. Now that's an example of genitive, which is one of the videos that you're going to need to watch to go through, to go together with this topic. So, der heutigen, heute, hopefully you remember, means today. So this is of today's, and Gesellschaft, probably a new word for you, today's society. Good. Okay, wie viele Entwicklungen des modernen Lebens hat das Fernsehen aber sowohl Vorteile wie auch Nachteile? Okay, you're probably used to seeing wie at the start of a question, like wie alt bist du, meaning how. This isn't a question though, this is a sentence, so it means like. So like many Entwicklungen, like many developments, okay, des, of, another genitive, different to this one, because this was for Gesellschaft, which was feminine, and this is for Leben, which is neuter. So wie viele Entwicklungen, like many developments des modernen Lebens, of modern life, hat das Fernsehen aber sowohl Vorteile, it's got both advantages, wie auch Nachteile and disadvantages, die immer öfter vergessen werden. Okay, so which are forgotten. Careful with this werden. Okay, this werden means are, and forgotten is a past participle, which are more and more often, so oft, plus this er, literally meaning oftener. So ever, more often, they are forgotten, so they're forgotten more and more often. Vergessen werden, that's an example of passive. And that's another little video that you're going to need to watch. Remember that this one was genitive. Okay? Während das Fernsehen immer mehr Bestandteil des modernen Lebens wird. So while television Bestandteil des modernen Lebens wird. Okay, so while television, this is wird back to normal, meaning becomes immer mehr, ever more of a Bestandteil, an integral part. Okay, part is always Teil des modernen Lebens, of modern life. Okay, Spaß spielt eine wichtige Rolle im Leben und ist für die psychische Gesundheit unentbehrlich. Okay, hopefully you remember from your GCSE that Spaß is fun. And then we got a nice few cognates to keep us happy. So Spaß spielt eine wichtige Rolle, plays an important role, there it is, im Leben, in life, und ist für die, and is for what? Gesundheit. Hopefully you'll remember that Gesundheit is health, and psychische Gesundheit is mental health. So, ist für die psychische Gesundheit unentbehrlich. It is vital, it is indispensable for mental health. Und in den letzten Jahren hat sich das Fernsehen so schnell entwickelt, dass es heute ein fast pausenloses Angebot verschiedener Sendungen und Serien gibt. So, in last years or in recent years hat das Fernsehen so schnell entwickelt. It has developed. Okay, and that's an example of the perfect tense, and there'll be a little revision video on that as well for you. It has developed so schnell, so quickly, dass es heute ein fast pausenloses Angebot verschiedener Sendungen und Serien gibt. Hopefully you'll have spotted your es gibt, even though it's massively split up. So es gibt, there is. That there is, a fast. Brilliant word, looks like it should mean fast. It means nothing like it, it's a false friend, it means almost. There's an almost pauseless, so constant, there is no break. There's an almost constant offer of verschiedene, okay, of different, and that er is our of, because that's a form of the genitive too, of different Sendungen, hopefully you've remembered, that you're going all the way back to Key Stage 3 for this one, of programs and series. Okay, section 2, der größte Vorteil. Okay, so in the last section we had comparatives. This is a superlative. So this isn't just bigger, this has gone from groß through größer all the way to größter. This is called superlative, the biggest. So the biggest advantage, den das Fernsehen mit sich bringt, ist die Informationsübermittlung. So the biggest advantage that television, you can work this out, brings with it is Informationsübermittlung. So that is a transfer of information. Reportagen und Dokumentarfilme, so these are reports and documentaries, kann man zu jeder Zeit finden. Und es gibt schon seit Jahren Fernsehkanäle, die sich einem bestimmten Thema widmen und 24 Stunden lang Sendungen strahlen. Okay, so our reports and our documentary films kann man zu jeder Zeit finden. Remembering that man is one or you, so one can find. Or you can find Reportagen und Dokumentarfilme zu jeder Zeit, at any time. Und es gibt schon seit Jahren, so, and there has been, schon seit, so since years, we wouldn't say since years, though would we? So we would say for years there have been Fernsehkanäle, which is television channels, die sich einem bestimmten Thema widmen. That's a brilliant word. That dedicate, sich, themselves, right, einem, hopefully you'll remember a little bit about what the dative looks like. This is our dative, meaning to, so to a bestimmten, to a particular Thema, topic. Und 24 Stunden lang Sendungen strahlen. Strahlen, they broadcast Sendungen, programs, 24 Stunden lang, 24 hours a day, 24 hours long, literally. Strahlen. Okay, Lehrer benutzen auch gerne Sendungen und Filme, um ihren Schülerinnen und Schülern neue Informationen zur Verfügung zu stellen. Okay, benutzen, so teachers use. But they don't just use, they use gerne, so they like to use, Sendungen und Filme, um ihren Schülerinnen und Schülern neue Informationen, this is a lovely expression, zur Verfügung zu stellen. To make available to. Okay? Da ein Film oft viel interessanter als der normale Unterricht ist. Da meaning because or as. So as a film is often viel interessanter. There's another comparative, another ER. Again, we'd say more interesting. Or what you've got there is interestinger. It's often lots more interesting or much more interesting als der normale Unterricht. Unterricht meaning lesson. Aber das bedeutet, that means, dass Schülerinnen und Schüler immer öfter einen Bildschirm angucken. A Bildschirm is a screen, ein angucken, something you'll come across really quite often, just means sehen, just means to look at. Or in this case, to watch a screen. Okay, so but that means that pupils, and look, all of their Schülerinnen und Schüler, because we've got feminine and masculine and both of them plural, so that pupils are watching, looking at a screen immer öfter, more and more. Okay, next section. So there are also zahlreiche, es gibt aber auch zahlreiche Beweise der negativen Beeinflussung durch das Fernsehen. So there are also zahlreich, means numerous, Beweise, right? A beweis is a piece of proof. These are pieces of proof, but we keep it singular. And we would say numerous. Well, we can't say numerous, can we? What would we say for evidence because it's singular? So there is a lot of evidence. Look, plural in German, singular in English. So be careful with that. But there is a lot of evidence der negativen Beeinflussung durch das Fernsehen, of negative influence by television. Schüler verbringen oft zu viel Zeit. So Zeit verbringen is to spend time. So pupils often spend too much time, zu viel Zeit vor dem Fernseher und interessieren sich immer weniger für den Inhalt der Schulfächer. So they spend too much time in front of the television und interessieren sich immer weniger, less and less. There's our comparative again. Ever less, immer weniger, so ever less or less and less. Für den Inhalt, okay, that's something that's held in something else, so that's the content of their Schulfächer. Die Schularbeit kann vernachlässigt werden, so it can be, okay, and that use of can there as a modal verb, sending our other verb to the end of the sentence. Okay, it can be vernachlässigt, it can be neglected. Was zu schlechten Noten führen kann. Which, in this case, okay, you probably used to see in was as what in a question. When you use it like this, it's a relative pronoun, was, so which can lead, it sends our verb to the end. So instead of saying es kann zu schlechten Noten führen, we've got was, sent our verb to the end, so was zu schlechten Noten, bad grades, remember that Noten are grades, and führen is to lead, so which can lead to bad grades. Was auch nicht vergessen werden darf, so what also can't be forgotten, sind die gesundheitlichen Schäden durch das ständige Fernsehschauen. Okay, so we're looking at gesundheitlich, health damage, through ständig, constant, Fernsehschauen, constant watching, schauen of television. Die Augen eines Menschen, so a person's eyes, so the eyes of a, another genitive there, person, müssen sich durch das stundenlange Starren auf den Bildschirm so sehr anstrengen, dass es zu Kopfschmerzen oder sogar zu einer Verschlechterung der Sehkraft führen kann. Okay, so, die Augen eines Menschen müssen sich durch das stundenlange Starren, hour-long staring, auf den Bildschirm, remember that means screen, so sehr anstrengen, so they have to strain so much, dass es zu Kopfschmerzen, hopefully remember that a Kopfschmerzen is a headache, or a Verschlechterung, a deterioration, and der is our genitive again, of Sehkraft, of our power to see, which is our vision. So it can lead to headaches or even to a deterioration in vision. Okay, last section, here we go. Wegen. Wegen is a good word, it means because of. So, wegen, because of, des Fernsehen takes the genitive, that's where des has come from. Wegen des Fernsehens gehen die Menschen auch viel weniger an die frische Luft. They go out into the frische Luft, the fresh air, viel weniger, a lot less. Sie schauen lieber, so they don't just watch, they don't just schauen einen Film, they schauen lieber, so they prefer to watch a film. Und essen nebenbei oft Naschereien, brilliant word, snacks, Naschereien wie Chips oder Popcorn, remembering that chips are crisps obviously. Was bei Gewohnheit, which if it becomes a habit, auch zu Übergewicht führen kann lead to right, Übergewicht is literally overweight, excess weight. We'd have to translate that slightly different, wouldn't we? We couldn't, well, we could I suppose say that leads to excess weight, but we would tend to say can lead to people becoming overweight. Okay, last section, ein vielleicht noch größeres, so ein even bigger problem, sind kriminelle und gewalttätige Serien. Gewalttätig are violent. So perhaps a bigger problem are criminal and violent series. Kritiker behaupten, so critics maintain, dass die Zuschauer kaum noch zwischen der Serie und der Realität unterscheiden. Our Zuschauer are our viewers, and they maintain that viewers hardly unterscheiden, they hardly discriminate zwischen der Serie, so between the series and reality. Was zu einer Zunahme, there's our was used again, meaning which, it's not the beginning of a question, was zu einer Zunahme von Gewalttaten in Schulen führen kann. And spotting again, look that our can has been sent to the end because of our was. So which can lead to what? To an Zunahme, increase. Right, gewalttätig was violent because Gewalttat is an act of violence. So this is plural, so it can lead to acts of violence. And in this case, that it can lead to acts of violence in school. Okay, so we're going to look at using text one now. We're going to try and do some activities that might mimic what you could be asked to do in an exam. So the first one is translation from German to English. Right, it's a nice easy starter because we've already looked through all the vocabulary. You should have notes all over that text now and you should be able to locate the information that you need. So try to do this translation without double checking your list of your vocab. but you can obviously use it and look at it if you need to. And remember to use your common sense, read through your translation and make sure that it makes sense in English before you decide you're finished. Okay, have a good look at it. Most of it's straight from the text, but it isn't necessarily in exactly the same order of the text. Some bits have been taken out and there are bits and bobs that have been added in that are different. What I want you to do is pause the video, have a go at it. Once you're absolutely sure that you've done it to the best of your ability, press play and we'll go through the answers. Okay, let's have a look what we've got for our answers. This is a slightly smaller version of your text so that we can get our answers underneath and see how we got on. So, das Fernsehen wird immer beliebter. So, television is becoming more and more popular. For each of these sections, you can give yourself a little tick if you got that bit right. So, 1. Und ist schon Alltagsbeschäftigung für die Mehrheit der heutigen Gesellschaft. And is already a daily activity. There we go. For the majority of today's society. Aber es hat aber sowohl Vorteile wie auch Nachteile. But it has both advantages and disadvantages. So sentence number 1 there, 4 points. Der größte Vorteil, the biggest advantage, den das Fernsehen mit sich bringt, which television brings with it, ist die Informationsübermittlung, the transfer of information, und Lehrer benutzen oft gerne Sendungen, Filme, and teachers often like to use programs and films, ihren Schülerinnen und Schülern neue Informationen zur Verfügung zu stellen, in order to provide their pupils with new information. Second section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Es gibt aber auch zahlreiche Beweise der negativen Beeinflussung durch das Fernsehen. However, there is a lot of evidence of the negative influence of television. Schüler verbringen oft zu viel Zeit vor dem Fernsehgerät. Okay, so people often spend too much time in front of, in this case I put Fernsehgerät, which is the physical television set. Zu viel Fernsehen verursacht oft Kopfschmerzen oder sogar eine Verschlechterung der Sehkraft. So too much television often causes headaches or even deterioration of the eyesight. Okay, it was a bit harsh there, that's only 3 points and that was a lot of information. Wegen des Fernsehens bewegen sich die Menschen auch weniger. So people also do less exercise, move around less because of television. Sie schauen oft lieber einen Film an, they often prefer to watch a film, und essen Snacks, and eat snacks, was bei Gewohnheit zu Übergewicht führen kann, which, if it becomes a habit, can lead to people becoming overweight. Remember that we discussed that when we went through the vocab. So that's loads of info, but again, 3 points. Kritiker behaupten auch, so critics also maintain, dass die Zuschauer von kriminellen und gewalttätigen Serien, viewers of criminal and violent series, kaum noch zwischen der Serie und der Realität unterscheiden, can hardly distinguish between the series and reality, was zu einer Zunahme der Gewalttaten führen kann, which can lead to an increase in acts of violence. Okay, and our last bit is there, 4 points. So let's have a look. 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 3 is 12, 15, total out of 19. Let me know how you got on with that. Okay, still using text 1. Now we're going to start looking at how we can answer German questions. Here's our first question. Wie hat sich das Fernsehen in den letzten Jahren verändert? So, wie, how, has television verändert? How has it changed in den letzten Jahren, so in the last years? So what do they mean? Well, they mean recently, don't they, in the last few years. Now, straight away, if you were told in English you have to answer using a full sentence, you would look to the question and you would start altering the question. If you had a question that said, how has television altered or how has television changed in recent years, and you had to write a full sentence, you might straight away go, television has changed in recent years because. Okay, well, why don't we do that in German? Let's have a look. Wie hat sich das Fernsehen in den letzten Jahren verändert? Okay, let's start with our question then. Das Fernsehen hat sich in den letzten Jahren verändert? Okay. What's important is you've got most of your sentence there really nicely written without actually having looked for your answer yet. So we know that we've got a structure that we can use, and then we look for our information in the text. You are far more likely to write an answer that makes sense rather than simply lifting something from the text that doesn't necessarily make sense when you put it after the question. Okay, I've picked out, for a nice easy starter, the sentence where I'd like you to find this answer. Once I've shown it to you, pause it briefly and work out how you think you would finish that answer with the text or the information from the box. Here you go. That's your information. Pause me and see if you can finish the answer that we've started to write. Okay. Das Fernsehen wird immer beliebter. We know it's becoming more and more popular and ist schon Alltagsbeschäftigung für die Mehrheit der heutigen Gesellschaft. It's now, or it's already, a daily activity for the majority of today's society. Well, that's changed because it wasn't like that maybe 50 years ago. So we've got das Fernsehen hat sich in den letzten Jahren verändert. What I wrote was in as much as, it ist geworden, it has become an integral part des modernen Lebens. You could, to make it slightly easier for yourself, if you've written das Fernsehen hat sich in den letzten Jahren verändert, weil es jetzt Alltagsbeschäftigung für die Mehrheit der heutigen, don't need to take that if you don't want to, because you said that it's now a daily activity, so you can put today's society in if you want, but you don't have to. It's a bit redundant. And then Gesellschaft on the end. So that's a nice answer. This is nice because it's in as much as it has become. But that ist geworden, has become, is a little bit more advanced, so you may well not have got that. Okay, so have a look at this one up here. Das Fernsehen hat sich in den letzten Jahren verändert, weil es jetzt Alltagsbeschäftigung für die Mehrheit der Gesellschaft. Nearly missed my ist. Because it is now. Okay, it gives us the same idea as it has become. It is now a daily activity for the majority of today's society. Okay, so look at question 2. Okay, question number 2. Warum ist Spaß im Leben wichtig? So we've got a why question. So why is fun in life important? That's a nice easy one to take from the question. So you can start it with Spaß im Leben ist wichtig, weil. Okay, have a look at the paragraph, see if you can finish that answer. Okay, so Spaß spielt eine wichtige Rolle im Leben und ist für die psychische Gesundheit unentbehrlich. There's your answer straight off, isn't it? Fun plays an important role in life and is vital for mental health. So, our answer, Spaß im Leben ist wichtig, weil es für die psychische Gesundheit unentbehrlich ist. Okay, ist für die psychische Gesundheit unentbehrlich, and we've had to put ist to the end because we've used the word weil. Question 3. Was ist das Beste am Fernsehen? So what's the best thing about television? Remember that you're going to start them with das Beste am Fernsehen ist. Okay. Your information is there. Pause me, have a look, press play when you're ready for me to go through the answer. Okay, so the biggest advantage which television brings with it is the Informationsübermittlung. Okay, this is what I wrote as an answer. I said, das Beste am Fernsehen ist die Informationsübermittlung. Nice. But then I thought I'd go on and say a little bit more. Well, why is this transfer of information important? Because it says, look, Reportagen und Dokumentarfilme kann man zu jeder Zeit finden. You can find these reports and documentaries at any time. And then I thought, well, why is it important then? Let's take this a step further. It's important because you can learn from these reports and from these documentary films. So I said, da man viel von Reportagen und Dokumentarfilmen lernen kann. And I had to put my can at the end because of my da. So what I've basically written there is the best about television is transfer of information because you can learn a lot from reports and documentary films. Okay? Question 4. Inwiefern, right. Inwiefern ist das Fernsehen auch in Schulen wichtig? Right. To what extent? Right. Okay, this is important because we can do two sides. It's important because of this, but there are also disadvantages. So, you could start off with das Fernsehen ist in Schulen wichtig. Now, I'm going to recommend, because there's quite a lot of information coming after this when you look at the content, that when you use because this time, don't use while, use then. No change in the word order will make the next bit a lot easier. Have a look at the content, see what you can come up with. Okay, my answer was, das Fernsehen ist auch in Schulen wichtig. Fine. Denn die Lehrer können Sendungen und Filme benutzen. So, because teachers können Sendungen und Filme benutzen. Well, I've already had a modal verb there, so I've had to push my benutzen to the end. So it's a good job I stuck with my den and didn't have to complicate my word order anymore. So because teachers can use programs and films, and then den Unterricht interessanter zu machen, to make the lesson more interesting. Why? Look, a film is oft viel interessanter als der normale Unterricht. But I haven't lifted. I've said it makes the lesson more interesting, but I haven't just taken the information from the box there. Damit die Schüler und Schülerinnen besser lernen. So, damit means so that pupils learn better. Because it says inwiefern, it would be quite nice then to look at the next bit. Look, aber das bedeutet, dass Schülerinnen und Schüler immer öfter einen Bildschirm angucken. Hopefully you remember that that's our pupils looking at a screen more and more. So we need to put something in there, I think. What can we have? If it says inwiefern ist das Fernsehen auch in Schulen wichtig, you've said it's important, but you could then just say, ein Problem ist, but problem is, dass what, and then start to use our information. Dass Schülerinnen und Schüler immer öfter einen Bildschirm angucken. You can take that straight from the bottom of the text, because the verb is already at the end, and pop it right in there. Okay, and then you haven't just given the positive, you've also given the negative, and that's really important for this idea of to what extent. Okay, question 5. Wann kann Fernsehen für die Schularbeit gefährlich werden? So, when can television become dangerous? When can television become dangerous für die Schularbeit, for schoolwork? Okay, again, look at your structure, form your answer. Fernsehen kann für die Schularbeit gefährlich werden. So, television can become dangerous for school work. Again, we don't need to worry about whether it is or not, because the question says when can it. What's our answer? Right, there's our text. Have a think about it. Okay, what I've written is, das Fernsehen kann für die Schularbeit gefährlich werden, wenn Schüler zu viel, here we go, zu viel Zeit vor dem Fernseher, and then I've used my verbringen on the end, when or if pupils spend too much time in front of the television. Then I've gone on to explain it. Well, why? Why is it dangerous? Interessieren sich immer weniger für den Inhalt der Schulfächer. Well, it tells us they get more and more disinterested, or less and less interested, in the content of their schoolwork. So I've gone, denn sie interessieren sich weniger für den Inhalt der Schulfächer. Okay, straight out of the text. Okay, question number 6. Wann kann das Fernsehen auch für den Körper gefährlich werden? So when can television also become dangerous for the body? Well, let's look at forming our answer then. When can television also become dangerous for the body? So television can also become dangerous for the body. Here we go. Okay, when? Right, here's your information. See what you can put together. Now, we know from our translation and going through our vocab that there are a couple of problems. We've got problems with eyesight that can be caused, we've got headaches that can be caused, and we've got overweightness that can be caused. So have a look at all that information. I would suggest that you're going to need more than one sentence to answer this. Okay, I started off with, das Fernsehen kann auch für den Körper gefährlich werden, wenn die Augen sich anstrengen müssen. So, it can become dangerous for the body when the eyes have to strain. Then I went on with, das kann zu einer Verschlechterung der Sehkraft führen. So that can führen zu einer Verschlechterung der Sehkraft, to a deterioration in vision. Es kann auch Kopfschmerzen verursachen. Hopefully you remember the word verursachen, to cause. It can also cause headaches. That hasn't mentioned our overweightness though, so I put in a sentence about that as well. Wenn das Fernsehen zu Übergewicht führt, so if television leads to, remember that wenn sends that verb to the end, wird das für den Körper gefährlich. And there we go, it becomes dangerous for the body. Okay? Okay, last question, number 7. Warum behaupten Kritiker, dass kriminelle und gewalttätige Serien gefährlich sind? So why do critics maintain that criminal and violent series are dangerous? So lifting from our question again, critics maintain that criminal and violent series. I knew that was going to happen. Trying to speak in English, right in German. Here we go. Kriminelle und gewalttätige Serien gefährlich sind. And then, just to make it nice and straightforward, I would use a den, because as we've said, that means your word order stays the same. Okay, here's your information. Can you finish off our answer? Okay, and compared to what I've got, I did Kritiker behaupten, dass kriminelle und gewalttätige Serien gefährlich sind. Right, why? And here we had, the viewers can hardly unterscheiden, distinguish zwischen between Serie und Realität. Because Zuschauer, denn die Zuschauer unterscheiden kaum, they hardly distinguish zwischen der Serie und der Realität. Could have stopped there, but I've gone on to explain why is that a problem? Because it leads to an increase in violent acts in schools, or it can. Sorry, it's our can. So I've got das kann, that can. Remember, I'm going to use cause because I want to use a different word, and remember that it has to go to the very end. So das kann Gewalt in Schulen verursachen. I've simplified it slightly. That can cause violence in schools. Okay? Okay. Right, our last little activity for using text 1 is going to be preparing to speak. What you need to remember is that the main reason for all reading and listening in a foreign language is to identify language that you can use yourself. Okay, so you're basically pinching other people's language ideally native speakers, people who know how to speak it, and you're thinking, that's how you say that, and try to remember it. So we're going to try and put that to the test. We're going to try and use text 1 to answer some questions so that you can talk about television yourself. Hopefully, between looking at the vocab, the translation, the working out your answers to German questions, you should be in a good position now to write your own answers to these, okay? Our questions. Wie hat sich das Fernsehen in den letzten 10 Jahren entwickelt? So, how has television developed in the last 10 years? Ist es wahr, dass das Fernsehen im alltäglichen Leben wichtig ist? Is it true that television is important in daily life? And 3, das Fernsehen wird häufig kritisiert. Warum? Television is frequently criticized, and why? Now, those 3 draw on a lot of information from that text, so please don't stick with one sentence answers. Extend them, especially the third one. If you look at it, it's criticized. Why? Well, why is it criticized? What are the positives? What are the negatives? Make sure you're giving 2 sides and extend it as much as you can to use as much of this new vocab as you can. Right, extension. I'd like everybody to have a go at this, really. Why is it an extension? Well, it can't be lifted as obviously from the text as the numbers 1 to 3 can. It's a little bit of extension where you need to write a bit of extra information. You need to have a think for yourself. Wer trägt die Verantwortung dafür, dass Fernsehschauen nicht gesundheitsschädlich ist? So basically, who is responsible for making television watching healthy, for making sure that it is not damaging to your health? So have a little think about who actually is responsible for that. Is it you? Is it children? Is it children's parents? Is it the government? Who really is responsible for making sure that we watch television in a healthy way that's not going to damage anybody's health? Okay, answers to 1, 2, 3 and ideally 4. Have a look at them. I'll take them in next lesson and we'll practice so that hopefully when I read those questions out to you, you can give me a nice comprehensive answer. Well done. That was quite a long piece of work, so congratulations.